All right, hello everyone, and welcome back to Foundations of Business, Management 1104. And today we're going to reflect and recap for your final exam. So this will be for chapters 13 through 18, and everything obviously that we have covered to date will be included in the exam. It's a comprehensive exam, so it includes chapters 1 through 18, except for chapters 9 and 11. As we don't cover those in the Foundations of Business course, and everything in between that we've talked about. Let me share my screen so I can walk you through the reflect and recap. Again, chapters 13 through 18. Expectation for your final exam is again around 42, so plus or minus. You'll have some multiple choice questions. There are well over 100, I think there's actually 120 now, questions, question bank that your exam is pulling from. So no two exams are the same. There's random orders, there's different types of answer outlines. And so certainly, as always, our academic integrity policy, our HOKI, our HOKI honor code is in place for your final exam. So again, I just want to let you know too, there will be a break even, an accounting exercise, very similar to what you had recently, markup problem, and an interest calculations. Now you have a couple of hours to complete it. For the summer session, you'll log in, between 6 a.m. and you have to submit it before midnight, so before 11:59. So you'll have, but once you log in, the timer starts. You only have 2 hours to complete it. It is open notes, open book. You cannot use any other outside resources, which includes other students or other colleagues. You cannot do that or use them. As I mentioned, chapters 1 through 18 does not include chapters 9 and 11. It does include topics like emotional intelligence and technology and business. I would utilize the template, the Excel template that you used for your accounting practices and for your accounting quiz. Just like the other two exams, the most recent information is heavily weighted, but again, it is comprehensive, includes everything that we have talked about today. All right, let's go through it. Chapter 13. Remember, labor unions are responsible for a number of major changes within government and also within industry, including things like overtime rules, severance pay, job safety, and many others that you see listed there. And the main goal here is to represent members in employee and management negotiations. So historically, they have really helped to change the dynamics of, for example, manufacturing facilities, in a much better health and safety minded culture. And also have been able to increase wages over time with that. There's different types of negotiation breakdowns. I'm not going to go through each one of these processes. You should definitely know them, know which ones have binding agreements, which ones don't. Understand that grievances are complaints that can be given either by management or by the union itself, and they are related to contract matters. You can see also some other types of processes that can be used by unions, including strike, picketing, and boycotting. Collective bargaining, it's a process when the two sides come together. They're looking at the discrepancy between what workers want and what management's willing to do. And typically that involves salary increases, benefits, working conditions, job security, and the like. Chapter 14 on marketing. Remember that marketing is beyond just sales and advertising. It has a lot of different areas, including understanding the target market, setting the price, which we actually have a whole dedicated chapter on, the delivery of the service or the product itself, making customers aware of it. Understand that target markets include demographics, geographic areas, lifestyles like psychographics, certainly behavior, how consumers will want or when they will want it, how they will want it, what that experience looks like. All of these are parts of market segmentations, and this helps to influence buy-in decisions. Why do people do what they do? When do they do it? And how they do it, and understanding this. And when marketing can look at data or look at behavior patterns, these are all important aspects from that. So hold on a sec. I need to make an adjustment here. All right, my apologies, had a technical issue there. So let me get back. So again, this is the market segmentation, right? So finding the common characteristics that influence those decisions is certainly very important. You have to know the marketing mix. So the traditional 4 Ps of product, price, promotion, and place, understand what those look like, why they're used in their, in the definition of each one. Also know that they have been replaced now with the 4 Cs. So consumer has replaced product, because we should know what the consumer's wants and needs are, okay? We should understand the cost to satisfy, to bring that experience. When we understand our cost, we should then be able to understand, our revenue streams, and be able to really hope to lead to a more profitable company versus just price. Convenience replaces place, because that helps us understand the ease of buying. Think about it, it's not just brick and mortar anymore. It could be virtual, like e-commerce and websites. And then promotion now has been replaced with communication. So think about social media and being able to communicate. This is certainly where advertising lives. So it could be digital or even the traditional type of communication from a promotion standpoint. So you have to know the 4 Ps. That's the traditional part of marketing. Those are still important to understand, especially the legacy, the definition of them. But just know that we're now in this digital market, this e-commerce market, where the Cs, the 4 Cs, are important to understand. Within marketing, we understand that research is important. How do you find that target market? What is it that they're looking for? What does this consumer behavior look like? And you have to be able to do research to understand that. You don't know what you don't know. So there's a lot of questions to be asked. And the way to figure that out is through research, digging deep, whether that's through surveys, interviews, or focus groups, really talking and more importantly, listening to what the consumers are saying, or your customers are saying. They will reveal a lot more information when you have a more intimate type of discussion with them. This is certainly where empathy needs to come into play. And I always say, a lot of times the silence that you have as a marketeer will drive more intelligence, especially when you're able to listen and learn what is going on. Various types of branding strategies. I'm not going to go into deep into these, because I think it's pretty self-explanatory and fairly intuitive. Just be sure that you understand the difference between private label and generic. The questions can be a little bit tricky. You need to really carefully read the question to be sure. And so when it's talking about a company, maybe it's a retailer that has a label, I used to think that was generic, but that's not. That is actually private label. They're reselling it under their own name, versus generic, where there is no branding information there. I think I covered this fairly well in chapter 14 in the video, so be sure that you review that. Understand what brand equity and brand loyalty be able to understand the difference in these, right? So brand loyalty is that commitment over time. They're very loyal to it. They will do anything and everything for that particular brand. And equity is just consumers have a favorable product or service experience, not necessarily loyal to it. So for me, Starbucks, I understand the brand equity there when I see that image, but I don't go there every day. I don't go there even once a month. I may go there once a quarter. So I don't have brand loyalty to Starbucks. So it becomes the frequency and the loyalty piece as defined. Various types of retailers. Again, this is one of those where you have the chart, understand the attributes or the description of each one, have some examples, really get into the nuance of why they exist. For example, a specialty store has that high level of personal service. Yes, they may have higher prices, but there's an experience level to that. There's a trust level to that. There's a brand equity associated with a specialty store. Definitely some differences between a department store and a discount store, and really understand those, especially from a quality expectation point of view. Also understand what showrooming, the practice of showrooming is and why that's important now. Pricing strategies, I'm not going to go into each and every one of these in depth. Just know the characteristics and where and why they are used at various parts of the product life cycle. For example, skimming, it's an introductory, innovative product. Skimming is going to go for the highest price, but there's low competition, right? Very few competitors. Cost-based, taking away what could be found by a pricing. So there's money being left on the table because there might be actually a demand in the marketplace where consumers will actually pay more. Certainly a cost-based is putting a fiscally responsible, right, fiduciary responsibility there that's going to make sure to cover the cost and meet a profitability threshold. Very, very important. It just could mean that there's additional profitability that could be gained. Dynamic pricing used a lot, in hospitality and transportation, different times of the year, based on demand. So be careful, dynamic and demand are different, but it is based on the demand and or vacancies that could be a part of a calendar or a special event. Prestige pricing, I think, makes sense. Odd even pricing makes sense. Again, kind of walk through each and every one of these, know why and where you would use them. The product life cycle, you have a chart, you'll have access to this chart. I would definitely understand the chart where you see some characteristics that are different. For example, the maturity phase has the highest industry profits as compared to the others. The growth strategy has the highest number of competitors, right? So these are some of the things to think about, and being able to answer the applied type of questions, not necessarily a definition type of question, but an applied style question as part of that. Also know when you have industry consolidation, which is the shakeout phase within the product life cycle. Very, very important to know when and why that is. That happens in the maturity stage. Weaker competitors kind of go out. They could be acquired because of their poor pricing or cost strategies, or they could be acquired because of their IP and how successful they are, which is an important aspect. Okay. Hospitality and tourism, chapter 16. Just understand the hotel market segments. I think, again, this is fairly intuitive and straightforward. Commercial, these are going to be properties that are near the airport or downtown areas. Certainly stronger demand Monday through Thursday. Leisure, Friday, Saturday nights, weekends, holidays. typically for families that are wanting to get away, for leisure time. Understand meetings and groups and the extended stays. Remember, extended stays could be used for both commercial or leisure travelers. And I think certainly becoming a much popular point of view. Remember on the, it's not fast food anymore. It's known as quick service. Understand the difference between, for example, quick service and fast casual. Usually it's quality or price points. Taco Bell versus Chipotle. Similar types of menu, tacos, burritos, these types of things, but a much different customer experience, different quality of food, and certainly a different price point, right? That can be a part of that. Recreation and entertainment. So remember, this certainly before COVID became popular, there was a stall, partly because of travel during COVID. It is coming back because people feel like there is a safe environment from a health and safety standpoint away from COVID by being outside. Great opportunity both for commercial and leisure travelers. Commercial corporations and teams will use these types of trips to build collaboration and teamwork from that. Understand negative impacts from tourism, including crime, real estate increases, certainly loss of local identification and values are there too. Chapter 17, accounting. So we spent quite a bit of time here, and it's been very, very recent for you, but you definitely have to know the accounting equation. Assets equals liabilities plus owner's equity. Remember that that part of finance is part of your balance sheet. It always has to be in balance, right? So cash has to equal liabilities plus owner's equity. Remember, cash is the ability from a liquidity standpoint to turn those resources into cash in a short period of time. Income statement is where the revenue and the expenses are captured. And the expenses would be like cost of goods or your operating expenses. And so understanding that helps to determine the net profit or net loss. And remember, the correlation between the income statement and the balance sheet is that net income becomes the owner's equity, okay, from a closing point of view. Managerial accounting, remember, this is information and analysis data for inside the company to help them with decision making, whether that's understanding budget, the cost of production, tax liabilities, the cost of marketing. That is compared to financial accounting, which helps to provide financial information outside the corporation, investors and creditors, managers, owners, government agencies, and the such, and helps them to understand the health and pulse of the organization. Just understand the various ratios, whether you see them on a balance sheet, like liquidity, current assets divided by current liabilities. So it should make sense. This is again, liquidity is the ability to turn assets into cash. So, it's going to be assets divided by liabilities to understand where that current ratio is. Leverage just means how much has the firm borrowed. And so that's going to take liabilities and divide it by assets. Some profitability ratios, including earnings per share. You do have a break-even analysis. Remember that these are units. This isn't dollars. Be careful here. This is the number of units, not dollars, okay? And so you have to understand the formula. Again, this is the number of units needed to cover the costs, okay? That's why it's called break-even. And so it is the first unit before making the profit with that. Internet of Things, this is the technology and business. A lot of this, because you're digital natives, you understand this probably very, very well. As opposed to say 4 or 5 years ago when we first started talking about the Internet of Things and business technology. But the Internet of Things is basically physical devices, home appliance, things that are embedded to actually bring data and exchange and connect that data. Think about a refrigerator, for example, the new types of refrigerators that give you alert when the eggs are out, when you're out of eggs, or when you're low on milk. You know, again, there's this data, the connectivity of that data that's there. So preparation, this is the same as I gave for exam 1 and exam 2. Key takeaways, learning objectives, understanding, you know, if you have questions within the chapter modules and the discussion presentations, I would go through those discussion presentations, especially the more recent ones. I mean, exam 1, exam 2, you've taken, you sort of know that information. You could certainly go back and look at those exam reviews and understand some opportunities to maybe improve on your scores from those types of questions. And again, open notes, open book. Don't rely heavily on the open notes, open book. That should be something that you use for maybe 4 or 5 questions that you flag during your journey. You will not have time to go look for everything. You can't control F the textbook or the slide decks the entire exam period. So be careful and take your time with that. Wishing you the best of luck. I really want you to do well. I hope this exam review has helped. If you've watched the videos over the last couple of weeks, I think that will help you more than anything else. I just want to make sure you understand the expectations for your exam this week. Take care of yourself. As always, if you have questions, feel free to reach out and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Take care of yourself. Good luck. I want you to do well.